Let's get to it.
Greetings, folks. Iolair here with a World of Warships replay from the Naval Alliance. Today we have a match of myself in the Tier 10 Royal Navy Light Cruiser HMS Minotaur, and I'm divisioned with two other Naval Alliance members, Captain Blackjack Honor, who is sailing in the Tier 10 U.S. Navy Heavy Cruiser, the USS Des Moines, and with Darkwing Glacier, who is sailing in the Tier 10 Japanese battleship, the mighty Yamato. I'll leave links to these Naval Alliance members' YouTube channels in the description below. We are in a domination match on Islands of Ice. There are very few destroyers in each team, and I'll talk a little bit later why I think that is. And also, interestingly, there are no carriers in match, which have been very prevalent in game as of late. My ship build focuses on maximum concealment and on destroyer hunting with radio location and also with supporting my consumables. And I do carry the surveillance radar special upgrade, but in this particular match I am using smoke, which I'll touch on a little bit later in the game. The match is going to focus on me maintaining center map control, providing spotting and capturing the Bravo cap, and then later is going to transition into me just having to survive for our team to preserve a win, which you can probably guess based on the title of the video. Now, as of late, we have seen a dearth of destroyers in game, and here I'm just about to capture Bravo, and the opposing Jutland moves in, and he's going to spot me here in a moment. But there has been a dearth of destroyers, especially at higher tiers in game, and I think this is because of the efficacy and prevalence of carriers at higher tiers. I have heard my own experience. I've heard a lot of complaints and observations from players about the difficulty trying to play as a concealment and a capping destroyer at upper tiers with carriers in game. And so I think we're seeing far fewer destroyers than we may have seen even 6 months ago. In fact, my own colleague, Jimmy Jazz, who is a very experienced and a very seasoned and skilled destroyer captain, even he is refraining from playing destroyers much at upper tiers precisely because of the influence of carriers as of late. And so as a result, I have been playing the Minotaur a little more often. The Minotaur can act as kind of a substitute destroyer. It has very good concealment, excellent concealment for a cruiser at this tier. It's obviously not as good as concealment of a destroyer, but if there are very few destroyers in a match, a Minotaur can control areas and provide spotting and basically act as sort of a poor man's destroyer in some ways. It can stealth torpedo, and if it does run into an opposing destroyer, Minotaurs are very effective, and generally most destroyers strongly fear Minotaurs and will stay out of their range if they can avoid it. The other advantage that the Minotaur has in the current meta with the prevalence of carriers is that it has excellent anti-air, and many carriers will simply avoid areas where they know there are Minotaurs. And so Minotaurs have an ability to be able to influence caps, maybe more so than they would otherwise be able to do if there were more destroyers in game. So I've been playing the Minotaur a little more often as of late to be able to act as a substitute destroyer, but also be able to provide my own anti-air and be able to defend myself. Now, in this particular match, again, I'm going to be focusing on controlling the center of the map. The Jutland has moved back into the Bravo cap. I'm using the island here to mask my approach to him. The captain is in the Des Moines on the southeast corner of Bravo, and he is going to be able to radar and detect the Jutland here. In fact, I'm actually going to spot him, and then we're going to put some fire on him. And not only drive him out, but we are actually going to sink him here in quite shortly. So I've chunked him down for most of his health up to this point. Again, I've already been targeted by at least 2 ships. I know one of them is the destroyer, and then also one of the others is either the Minotaur. In this case, it's the Minotaur, the opposing Minotaur that's on the northeast side of the Alpha Cap. But also, again, I don't want to suddenly be caught broadside and be easy pickings for one of the opposing battleships that is on either flank, especially on the western side of the map. So I'm going to turn back in here. Now we do have the opposing Jutland, who's been driven out of the cap again under surveillance radar. And between my fire and the captain's, we are able to get the Jutland down, and now we're able to take the Bravo cap without being contested. Now let me take a look. Let's take a look at the tactical situation. I'm dropping smoke here, and again, this is part of the reason I'm bringing smoke instead of radar. Is that if there were carriers, I'd want to be able to get in concealment if I could. In this case, I'm dropping smoke to stay in concealment because, again, I don't want to be easy pickings for one of the opposing battleships that might be on a flank here, like the Almagi or the Grosser Kurfürst or something like that. So looking at the tactical situation, our team has a huge advantage. We have the Alpha cap secured. We have the Charlie cap secured. We've now just gotten Bravo. We have a 4-ship lead. Things are looking spectacular. They're looking great. I advanced the replay here because, again, we're chunking down the opponents. We do lose one more ship, but we take out one of theirs. The Charlie cap is now being contested by the opposing Grozavoy on the north side of Charlie. I'm going to slow here and smoke up and help put some fire on this opposing Almagi that's frankly wandered a little too far south. We have now just lost our opposing Hindenburg. I believe that he was at Charlie as well. But by coming back to Bravo here and the center map control, myself and in the Minotaur and the captain and the Yamato, our fire is going to take out this Amagi. So again, things are looking pretty good, but the opposing team is starting to get a little bit of gain on the number of ships killed. They did have a 4-ship deficit. They're now down to a 3-ship deficit. Here is the opposing Minotaur. He's trying to slow to get into smoke, and I'm going to put fire on him. And this is part of the reason that I didn't venture farther out to be able to put fire on ships, because a Minotaur cannot operate effectively, or generally cannot operate effectively in open waters very well. And this opposing Minotaur, who's attempted to do that, he was detected trying to get into his smoke, and I've hit him quite a few times, including at least one Citadel. And when he shows up again, he's going to be almost dead. And that's something that a Minotaur is very difficult for it to operate in open waters like this. And so this is part of the reason that I didn't venture out beyond the islands much further. Now, the opposing team has gotten into Charlie. They're starting to take the Charlie cap. The captain, who is in the Des Moines, who's on the 10 line, is now having to flee the Grozavoy and the Des Moines that are taking Charlie. Unfortunately, he is going to go back and try to defend Charlie, but he is eventually going to be taken out. Here, again, I mentioned the opposing Minotaur that was almost killed while I was firing into his smoke, even after he had gone undetected. Our Z-52 is just finished him off there, so again, that's a good game. But the opposing team is starting to make some gains here on the ships, and they're taking Charlie back. And it's at this point that I'm starting to think, well, I might need to be in a position. In fact, now we've just lost our other Hindenburg, which was on the Alpha side. And so the opposing team has brought it down to a 1-ship difference. In fact, I've advanced the replay here to the point where they even up the ship, and then now they've just taken out the captain in the Des Moines at the Charlie cap. And so now the opposing team has a 1-ship lead. Now they have a huge point deficit, and even if they sank 2 more ships and they captured both Alpha and Bravo as well, which would take a while because they're not really in a position to take the caps yet or get into them, there's no way for them to win. And it is at this point that I've already realized I need to run. I need to flee and stay in concealment and not be detected. I don't care that they take the caps anymore. They can, unfortunately, we can see Darkwing Glacier here. He's just gone down on the Yamato. I had suggested that he had turned around earlier. That was actually a mistake on my part to tell him to turn around when he did, because he ended up getting exposed broadside to the opposing battleships that are on the north side of the map, and so he was finished off fairly quickly. Now it's just me and my allied Musashi. The Allied Musashi is in the northwest corner of the map. He's in a crossfire between two, battleships. At this point, I just need to flee in order to preserve a win. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. Now, the opposing Des Moines here is an 07 player. If people don't know, 07 is a very competitive clan. They routinely get into the highest ranks of competitive play globally. So they are very smart players. And this Des Moines player knows that if I have him spotted, but he doesn't have me detected, he's quite close to me because my detection is 9.1. His is 10.8, I think. So he's only got a little more than 1.5 kilometers of difference between his detection and mine. So I need to not get detected by him. He's probably trying to use radar to get me lit, and so I have to try to make sure that I stay out of the way. We have now just lost our Musashi, so it's just me against these 4 players. But if you look at the point differential, it's still almost, at least at that point, it was still almost 500 points. I advanced the replay here because I'm just moving away, just sailing away. There's no action of me firing. At no point did I open up my guns and reveal my location. Now, I do make a mistake in my opinion here. I continue to send torpedoes in order to try to deny area, but that was actually probably a mistake because it gave them some bearing of where they should be trying to find me. In fact, you now see the opposing Grozavoy, who has fired his gun in order to see if I am within his detection range, which when he fires his gun, which I am. So they're still trying to bear on me. You see the comments in the chat where they're basically asking, for me to fight. And my answer is no, I'd rather have the win. So even though I didn't do a lot of damage and I wasn't sort of the big XP earner in the game, my realization is that if I want to win the game, I need to survive. And I wasn't going to throw the game for the team. So I do need to give hats off to the 07 division. They made a very valiant effort to get the game back, but it simply was too late. And again, so long as, at least in this case, myself was heads up enough to simply sail away and not get detected and not be taken out, our team wins the game. And it was very close. I have to give credit to Darkwing Glacier, who recommended that I actually turn east. I had originally thought I would turn west when I got south of Bravo. He thought that it would be better if I went east, and I do think that was the better decision because that would have put me farther out of reach from the battleships in case I did get detected. So I hope you enjoyed the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below, and as always, we hope to see you out there, and we wish you happy sailing.